Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, Dave Ribeiro from SteelersSanctuary.com. And this is my somewhat crazy co-host, David Korup. Dave, what's going on?
What's up?
A little excited about the Steelers making the playoffs?
A little bit. I'm a little bit fired up.
All right, man.
I'm in my Yinzer gear. I'm ready to go.
Everything that the Steelers needed to happen happened. They beat the Ravens Saturday night. We'll get into that game a little later, but the Jaguars did us a favor and laid an egg today, brother. They didn't play well at all.
They look like shit, basically. You want to talk about just choking. You're facing a 5-11 team. They've got Tannehill out there at quarterback, who's a shell of himself. Basically all you had to do was try to stop the run. Go all out, stop the run. They couldn't do it. And they folded. There ain't no way to put it. And I appreciate it. So yeah. The Titans won that game, man. They won it, and they went out there and showed. Yep.
Pure and simple. And it was it got a little dicey towards the end, but they held out to win 28-20. Now this is exciting for us. This is the first playoff podcasting we'll be doing. We've been doing this 2 years. We didn't get any playoff games last year, so this will be fun. We should do a little bit of news first. TJ Watt got hurt in that game. Looks like a hyperextended knee. Probably best case scenario, right? From what we saw.
It actually is. It's a grade 2 MCL sprain. They originally put it out there that it was a grade 3, and then it was a tear and all this other shit. And then JJ Watt put it out there. It's only a grade 2. It's 2 weeks rest. So really, Dave, if they can somehow pull off a win in this first round, they have him for the next game after that. I know it's a lot, but and we'll get into all that stuff as the week comes on. But in general, as of right now, if it's only 2 weeks, if they can somehow pull off this first round, then they'll have him back. Hopefully Minka's healthy. And, things can maybe go their way a little bit health-wise, but we'll see.
Would it shock you if he played in the game, though? I mean,
I've wondered.
He wanted to get back in that game. They wouldn't let him. He's ready to go back in.
Knowing him, he's probably going to drive back to Wisconsin and go jump in the freaking lake up there in the freezing water, come back out, rejuvenated, healed knee, ready to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, listen, here's the question. I see people on Twitter now already throwing up polls and debating who's going to start in the game this coming week. There's no freaking way they go back to Kenny Pickett, right? There's no way.
I don't think. I mean, they're on a 3-game winning streak with Rudolph. I mean, that don't, and have put up more points in a 3-game stretch than they ever have in the last 2 years, right? I mean, to me, there's just no way. Look how the teams responded to him being QB. George Pickens didn't get a reception yesterday and was happy as hell that they, for his teammates. I mean, the guys change things in such a dramatic way. I mean, even Pickens is like, being a big time team player and happy for his teammates. But it's amazing what winning can do, man. Winning cures all. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing when they're losing, but when you're winning like this, and now they made the playoffs. I mean, the dynamic has changed so much with Mason Rudolph. I don't know how in the hell you go back to Kenny Pickett. I mean, I get it. He's supposed to be the guy, but the team has just responded so well right now to Rudolph. What kind of message are you sending? I
don't know when Tomlin's going to do his press conference. It depends, I guess, if they play Saturday or Sunday, right? And he'll do either Monday or Tuesday. I guess we'll find out then for sure. I can't imagine, like you said, you can't go back to Pickett now. He hasn't played in over a month. He's going to be rusty as hell. He wasn't that good in the first place. Let's be honest.
Right.
And this is a huge game. You can't throw him in front of live bullets in the playoffs when he hasn't played in forever. And for the fact he might not be better than Mason Rudolph in the first place. So I mean, we could table this conversation for the next podcast and really find out who, but I'd be shocked. I don't know why people are throwing out polls that there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, and look, I didn't think Mason had the best game yesterday.
No, we can get into that. I mean,
if if you want to, we can get into that now. It's up to you. But I just, but in general, I mean, that was not exactly the easiest weather to have a good game in.
No, I mean, I was going to bring that up. It's hard to judge anything off that game. The weather was so bad, fumbling on both sides.
Yeah, it was.
The Ravens didn't have their starters, and they just went in and did what they had to do. They won the game, and they, squeaked it out. Yeah, it's just the game was so crazy that you can't judge the pass blocking, and we'll get into that later too, was horrendous for the Steelers again. So it's hard to judge Mason on that one. The ball, slippery ball. You couldn't really get the ball downfield, but he won the game. He made a big play to Deontay Johnson when they needed it the most. It was a perfect pass. And he did get a little scary.
Yeah. Did you see that where he has the lead for touchdown passes of 60 yards or more?
He's second. He's one touchdown pass behind Tua.
Oh, is it one behind Tua? I couldn't
Tua's got 4 and he's got 3. That's crazy.
He's 3 games, bro.
He's played 3 games. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know where this came from. I never thought Mason Rudolph would win 3 games in a row as a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers and lead them to the playoffs.
It's because he stays in the pocket, Dave. It's the number one. Now, mind you, he stayed in it a little too long yesterday, a couple times. But I mean, at this point, which one do you want? Do you want the guys that don't wait for your wide receivers to run their routes and they run out of the pocket when they didn't have to, or they could just step up in the pocket and made a throw? Or do you want the guy that stays in there and takes his lumps? I mean, look what he's done. I got no bias towards any of these guys. I don't think any of them are like some legit answer for this team going forward. But as of right now, I want the guy that's going to stay in the pocket when there's nothing collapsing around him and makes the right throws.
Yeah, I mean, he stayed a little too long in the pocket a couple times in that game. He made a couple bad decisions. He fumbled the ball one time. Again, it's hard to judge these guys because of those weather conditions, because how bad it was. For the most part, he was okay. I mean, let's get to the brass tacks. This was a Najee Harris game. He won that game. He won that game for the Steelers.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Jaylen Warren and his fumbles. That's a little concerning.
Yeah.
He put the ball on the ground a couple times. But Najee Harris carried this team. Over 100 yards rushing. They just went to him. It seemed like 2 out of 3 plays.
He was just a bruiser, dude. Just a bruiser. I mean, that wears down a defense when you got a running back that just grinds those yards. And that's what his kind of style is meant to be. You know what I'm saying? And he was amazing and did really well. And like you said, was basically the reason why they won. Minus the 60+ yard pass to DJ, but besides that, yes, the constant getting the first downs, the constant grinding out yards and winding down that clock and wearing down their defense, that was all Najee. With Warren Springer a little bit, minus the 3 fumbles he had. But yeah, and that's the other thing too, man. Like you could again chalk it up to a lot of these fumbles were because of the weather. There was tons of fumbles on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, both sides of the ball.
That normally doesn't happen. So you have to be like, okay, it's the weather. I mean, they thought they were going to get close to the record. Did you hear them for fumbles in a game?
Yeah, the record was 9, and they were at 9 6 or something,
and they were at 6, really quick. So it's one of the things where when you hear that, you're like, okay, this is definitely weather related. And I mean, even the cameramen were having trouble keeping the damn lens, clean. It was a mess. So
cold driving rain just about the entire game.
Because I got mad and I was just like, my gosh, this is all we can do against their backups. And then I'm like, well, this is a shitty game of weather.
It was.
And somebody made a great point. We are on linebacker, 6 and 7, safety 4 and 5, and and we're on literally technically our 3rd string quarterback too. So it makes sense, when you think about the score, when you think about the struggles of certain things like Warren with the fumbles. But yeah, dude, like, man, Najee definitely, stepped up and basically is what won that game for us. Absolutely.
Yep. that bad weather games, he's just made for it. And I wanted to bring up Mark Robinson too. That's kind of his kind of game too. The bad weather game. He played well. He had a sack. He had a couple tackles. He had a forced fumble.
Yep.
These bad weather games, those two guys, it's just perfect for them.
That sack he came in there like a lightning bolt, right? Dude. Yeah. Oh, Vaughn is in here. He said he wants to have patience with KP, but definitely go to Rudolph. Then he said next year right tackle and a center in the draft, and then we could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we realize that really the biggest stem of the problem of the team is the O-line. They gotta get that O-line squared away.
And if they get that squared away, right? The run blocking is great.
Run blocking is great.
I don't know what you do with
the pass blocking's got to get fixed. So I think Vaughn's right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Steelers Freak's on here again. He said was hoping Henry would ball out. What was that? Ball out, fresh tape for cash. That's why I thought the Titans were the Steelers' best chance.
Yeah, I did too. So I did too.
I wasn't sure. Like I really didn't think so once I saw Lawrence was playing. I was like, shit, we're gonna have to hope Miami, Tua, and Hill cook. But hey, if they really went all out, I think because it was Henry's last game. I think that was another motivation behind it. They wanted him to go out, to win. But it worked. It worked out. I don't
have any hope for the Dolphins tonight. They got injury. Mostert's not going to play. Waddle's not playing. They're already in the playoffs. They're playing for just seeding. I think Buffalo's going to win, and we're going to end up going to Buffalo, to be honest. That's the way I kind of see it at this point.
And look, I'm at a point, Dave, where I don't even think it matters. It don't matter. Look, I don't mean that in a bad way for us. I mean, like, every team's got their warts that we might have to go face. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if we go to KC, okay, KC's, they got Patrick Mahomes, right? But Kelsey's not healthy. They don't have a burner like they had with Hill. They're not as scary as they usually are. You know what I'm saying? This season, you can tell that they haven't been exactly what they usually are when it comes to being like a juggernaut, right? Buffalo, same thing. Like, they really stunk it up every other game. It seemed like they weren't dominant either. Like, and we've gone to Buffalo and beat them. We did it, before. So I don't know. Like, and if we, now I doubt we go to Miami. I'd have to be a tie.
I think that's off the table now.
No. I saw it. If there's a tie, we would go to Miami. But that's a fluke.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's a fluke situation. Yeah. So I'm just addressing.
I don't want any part of Miami.
That's how I feel. I feel like they've got the most weapons out of anybody. Yeah. Like, when you start talking about weapons, I mean, we're talking about a Kane, Moser, Waddle, Hill, and Tua. Like, that's a lot of weapons for this defense. That's a nightmare for this team. Yeah, for this defense. You're right. You're it's a gunslinging, track meet, and we are not geared for that whatsoever.
Well, in theory, Minkah should be back next week.
Yes.
And DeMonte Casey will be back because he's so they'll have their two starting safeties in theory. I mean, damn it, Eric Rose played fantastic, right? He's been a godsend for this football team. I mean, him and Miles Jack, and a couple other guys on that defense. You got to take your hat off to them. They really saved this team.
Well, that's why I was so happy when they brought Miles Jack back. You remember a long time ago, I had said they needed to bring this guy back. I had to talk with you and Ron. Remember, I was saying, you think there's a chance they bring Miles Jack back? And nobody was like, no. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't make sense to me because the guy knows the system and he did good with one leg. He did good last year. Yeah. So now that he's healthy, I figured, once he gets in football shape, he'd be ready to go. And look what he's doing. But Rowe, like I said, man, I remembered Rowe coming out of college. I could have sworn that kid was highly regarded. I can't remember where he came out of.
He's had a decent NFL career. He's been okay.
But he disappeared, and it was like, where'd that guy go? And then when we got him, I was like, oh, okay. But he's a tackling machine. He can't cover. He's got hands. Now, does he sometimes miss some tackles? Yeah, of course. But now that he's gotten used to this system a little bit and knows things, dude, I think he's been a great addition. But I noticed Killebrew was out there a lot on defense. Did you notice that?
Yeah. They're trying to rotate guys in and out, and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel now. When Killebrew's playing defensive snaps,
well, that's what I mean. I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, okay.
Eric Rowe led the team in tackles again, second week in a row. It's pretty wild. Yeah. This guy, just picked him up off the street. These guys, and I guess you got to credit Tomlin for that. I mean, he's coaching these guys up. He's getting them to play kind of seamlessly, just picking guys off the street and having them play well. Elandon Roberts, man, he's playing hurt. Guy's a freaking warrior, man. He's out there making plays. After every tackle, you can see him grimacing and getting up slow. That's the kind of guy you want around. You have to have him back next year. I know he's under contract, but
that's a fucking question. Pittsburgh Steeler right there.
Yeah. He's been fantastic. I mean, holy crap. Let's talk about DJ a little bit. Man, DJ had a game. I don't know what happened on that long pass. He kind of short-armed it. I don't know what. And people were throwing out all kinds of theories. He pulled a hamstring. He didn't pull any hamstring. He went to the house like a quarter later.
I thought he was hurt. Like, I was like, why didn't he – like, and he, it's just like,
Such an odd play. I mean –
maybe he just didn't see the ball. Is there a chance he just didn't see it?
I guess. I don't know with that guy. I honestly, with him, I have no idea. Any possible explanation could be the right one.
I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. It was like he didn't see it or something. I mean, like, he didn't even have to dive that hard for it. Like, he could have.
The ball dropped 5 feet away from him. He pulled up.
So I don't know. I think that, honestly, I think maybe he didn't see it, or he just didn't feel like laying out for it. I guess I don't know.
And a couple plays later on that, what could have been a really important play, he's lollygagging off the field on a Steelers punt, and he gets caught. He's the guy, the 12th man on the field. The Steelers get a penalty because he won't get his ass off the field. And it negated the Steelers had the Ravens pinned on that punt, if you remember. And they had to repunt, and it wasn't as good. I think the Ravens got like 30 yards of field position out of that. It's little stuff like that just drives me crazy with this guy. It's the fumbles. It's the, what do we have? Not blocking earlier in the season or whatever. This guy's not a winner, man. I'm at the end of my rope with Diontae Johnson. I really am. Even despite the big touchdown, which was a great play, I get it. And I tweeted that, and a lot of people tweeted back. I mean, well, what do you think now? So yeah, he's great for a big play once in a while, but he's also great for 2 or 3 dumb plays a game. That could cost his team. That was a close game. That penalty really could have cost the Steelers.
Yeah, I hate that dumb shit too. No, I'm with you.
So frustrating.
He's just a very frustrating player. You're right. It's hard to watch. It's like, man, dude, the things he can do, the talent he has, and then he does the dumb shit, and you're just like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
he's not like some rookie. This guy's been in the league 5 years now. He should be doing this stuff. It's ridiculous already. I'm like really frustrated with him. Jaylen Warren, the fumbles, we mentioned that earlier. That concerns me. If we have another bad weather game, I mean, how do you give this guy the ball very much if he's going to be doing that stuff? And it hurts me to say this because he's my favorite player on the team right now by a good margin, but you just can't keep doing that.
No.
And then they mentioned, or somebody else mentioned that, I think it was Nick Farabaugh mentioned that he noticed in practices that if it's raining, Warren tends to cough up the ball in practice too. So we're getting into January weather.
Yeah, it's
a little scary.
Yeah, it's bad timing on his part to be like, oh, so you don't do well in bad weather. Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he's one of the biggest offensive weapons. The Steelers need him. They need him to make big plays.
Bath and stick him.
Yeah, right. Or something. Because they can't win games if he's not making big plays.
Right. 3 fumbles. That's bad. I mean, and again, I say that knowing how the weather was, but still, geez, 3.
And you got to know too. Like, he's fighting for that extra 1 yard in a monsoon. It's like, dude, just go down.
Yeah.
You're in a pile. Just cut it out and go down because only bad things are going to happen.
Yep.
I know we're bouncing around a little bit, so let's stick with the offense. I mean, George Pickens, just one play really, one end around, no catches at all.
Yeah,
there was no complaining or bitching on the sideline, which is a good sign.
No, was just I was pretty happy to see that. Like, it seemed like he was genuinely happy just that they won, and he was happy for Diontae on that big play. He ran down there with them to celebrate. It was like, okay, this is good shit. This is what you want to see. like I said, I there's just something about Mason Rudolph. These guys has pulled these guys together. Right. There's something about it that's pulled these guys together, and they're really pulling for each other now. I don't know what happened or what conversations were made. Maybe Tomlin pulled them in together. I have no idea, but they all genuinely, I think, like Mason Rudolph, have respect for him, and they want to go out there and play hard for him. And that's that has to be the dynamic that's made this change. It really has to be.
I think you're right, and I think they like both. We've talked about this a little bit before. They like Kenny Pickett and they like Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph's making the plays that Kenny Pickett wasn't. So that just galvanizes the team. He's a likable guy who's making plays. So of course they're gonna love the guy, and that's another reason why I don't think Tomlin can go away from him. Can you imagine the catastrophe if he starts Kenny Pickett plays bad? I mean,
what makes sense about all this is just the fact that Mason Rudolph turned this team into a two-way threat. Does that make? When you think about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the long bombs,
yeah,
he's literally now made it to where you can't just stack the box with 8-9 guys, just spread them out a little bit, and you'll just take care of the pass and the run altogether. No, not now. You can't do that. You go single high on Pickens or DJ, you are going to have a long day because Rudolph's he's gonna sling it to him. And I that's been the big difference, which is also why, Najee or Warren just starts running over teams, defenses, because of the fact that, one, they're doing great run blocking, but because they're not always stacking the box either.
Yeah. One goes hand in hand with the other. If you have a deep threat, then it opens up the run game. And if you have a run game, it opens up the passing game. You have to have both.
And they haven't had it. They haven't had it all season, Dave. Yep. And look what happens. Bang, 30 points. And then in a shitty game, they put up 17.
Yep. It's a no-brainer. Tight ends. Freiermuth had a couple good catches. He seems to be blocking a lot better, too, the last couple of weeks. I think he's bought in on the run game, too. That's freaking amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because my man wasn't interested in blocking the first half of the year. Let's be totally honest. He was kind of doing his thing. But now all of a sudden, it's funny how everything's just working on offense now. You get a little confidence. A few things happen. Guys stop buying in. Next thing you know, the offense is running. Who else? Let's jump to the offensive line. Again, run blocking good. Mason Cole, more bad snaps.
Yeah.
I guess we just got to live with it until the season's over.
Yeah.
They're not going to change it.
They're not going to make any changes. What else? Moore, I thought, was really bad yesterday. He was bad. Yeah, he did not do well. Broderick Jones gave up a sack too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. They're both struggling in pass protection.
Right. Yeah. No, it was both of them didn't do well. Mason Cole also. But Seumalo was amazing.
Yeah, that one block where he knocked.
Dude. Just crushed that dude on the touchdown run, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just absolutely thumped that dude, knocked him on his ass. And then when he was getting up to the second level, it was like, to me, was reminiscent of Maurkice Pouncey. Like when Maurkice Pouncey, man, would just get at second level, just running and looking for a body to take out. Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. And I was just like, oh, man. I was like, he is playing his ass off. But, I mean, he was like the bright spot of that O-line yesterday.
For sure. Anything else on offense? I'm looking. Freiermuth had 2 catches for 21 yards, but he had a big first down. One of those catches was a huge first down. Deontay went 4 for 89. The one big play was
Hayward had that nice catch.
Hayward had a nice catch, a first down too.
That was pretty good.
Najee Harris had 112.
Washington was out there blocking a lot too.
Yeah, his blocking is spectacular. Gotten better and better and better as the season gone along. Yep. Najee Harris went over 1,000 yards too, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. Right? And there was some kind of stat. He's the only one to have 3 1,000-yard seasons in a row since
the career.
Since someone for the Commanders a long time ago. There was someone. Yeah, I saw the stat, but Najee's the first one to do it. It's been a long time since a back has actually gotten 3 1,000-yard seasons in a row.
Mason went 18 for 20, which is pretty freaking good in the rain.
90%.
Yeah, right. 152 yards passing. It got the job done. At the end of the day, he got the job done. Let's flip over to the defense. The defensive line was fine. I mean, I thought they held the Ravens in check run-wise pretty well. Ravens backup quarterback wasn't very good yesterday. Huntley he didn't seem to play that well, and he hasn't played all season, so it's kind of, I guess you can give him a pass on that. Linebackers, Myles Jack again, another good game. Yeah. Obviously, Landon Roberts. We talked about Mark Robinson.
Right.
That's his kind of game. You know, he's a plugger and a runner, and when everyone else is slowed down because of the weather, that puts him in play. TJ and Highsmith, I thought, played really well. I don't know how you feel about it. TJ had 2 sacks. Oh, we should mention.
Well, TJ was amazing. He had like 3 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. I mean,
he won the sack title again. That's his 3rd time.
Myles Garrett, who? Like,
yeah, right.
Get the fuck out of here with this shit. Right. Like, seriously, this is the NFL is driving me fucking bonkers, Dave, with this Myles Garrett love affair. Like, seriously, there has to be tons of Browns fans that are executives in the fucking NFL because I'm sick of it. It's a narrative they're pushing because they know that all the little sheep will just follow along and go, yep, that should be the one who gets voted defensive player of the year. And that's why they fucking put that shit out there. They push it because they know that the people will go along with it.
Yep. Oh, we should go back to Rudolph for a second. Von Woodruff made a good point. The only quarterbacks this season who have recorded a passer rating of 112 or better in 3 straight games are Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, and Mason Rudolph.
Damn.
Where did this come from, man? I just don't get
it. The kid sat back and got better.
Yeah.
There ain't no other way to put it.
The only question now is, has he got 3 more in him? Can he get 3 more out of him? 4 more out of him?
Well,
we'll see.
We're gonna find out.
Yep.
We get to find out. This is
what's that?
That's like the greatest thing about this is the fact that now we get a 4th game with, we presume, Mason Rudolph at quarterback. To see now you're in the big dance. Like, you know, let's see what you can do. Like, because if he balls out again, Dave, man. But I didn't like that interview that he had the other day where she asked him, "Do you want to stay a Steeler?" He was very non-committal and all that. I was just like, hey, my guy knows he's about to get paid. He ain't committing to anything because now he knows he ain't gonna be getting offered just some $1 million deal to be the 3rd string guy. He's actually got a legit shot now at getting a backup at least position with decent money.
Yeah. I mean, every game he starts now is worth millions. Every time he wins from this point forward, he wins a playoff game. He's $10 to $15 million quarterback. Easy.
Yeah, if he keeps this up, I
that cash register is just rolling. All right, let's flip back to the defense. Secondary, I know we're injured. I know we're dinged up. Pat Peterson missing tackles.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I didn't think he had a good game.
The good thing is, if we get Minkah, well, we're going to get one of our safeties back regardless. So we can move Pat Pete back, move him back to corner or slot, and get Levi Wallace the hell out of there. And that just makes everything better. That just makes everything better.
It does.
I know it's slippery and it's rainy, but he kind of had he took a couple bad angles.
And 2 things: the weather and him being at a position that he's not. You know, it's a newer position.
I get it.
So it's like one of those things where it's like you want to be like, yeah, he didn't have a good game. Then you're like, but you know, how would anybody do in a new position? You know, it's one of those things. Because he's been playing really well. You know, from the middle of the season to now, he's been doing a lot better. But I agree with you. I definitely, I'd rather him out there than Levi Wallace. If they can 100%. Make that happen, I'm all in. Please. 100%.
But the defense overall, they played well. They know how to play the Ravens, right? For some reason,
they do.
And I know Lamar Jackson wasn't there. I get it. But Huntley's very similar. He's just, he's pretty fast. He's not as good as a passer, obviously.
I really don't give a shit. We beat their starters earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like all that shit that Ravens fans talk, I don't give a shit. We beat you like 6 out of the last 7 times.
Yeah. And if they were 5-1 in the AFC North this year, it's crazy.
Right. It just doesn't, it doesn't matter. We beat them either way. It's all stupid.
And you made a good point. The Steelers, they didn't play a lot of the starters, and the Steelers are down a bunch of starters, so it kind of levels it out a little bit. I mean, when you're saying Mason Rudolph versus Huntley, I mean, that's the 3rd string against the backup.
Right.
So I don't want to hear it. What else on defense? Anything else stick out to you? Marcus Golden, I want to talk about. He played well at the end of the game after TJ got hurt. I thought he really played well.
He did.
We're going to need at least one more good game out of him. So hopefully he can carry that.
That's why it was so important this season when they actually went and added a legit third guy. Yes. It was just like, look, you got to add a third guy because we can't keep going through this with TJ getting hurt and there's just nobody. The drop off is significant at the third guy. And they finally went out and got Golden, and they drafted Herbig, who honestly I'm kind of excited for, Dave. Like, Herbig has got that it factor where he's always. I mean, two plays he made a big impact 2 games ago against the Seahawks. I mean, that kid. I want to see him get a decent rotation in this playoff game. Get him in there a decent amount. I would like to see it because I think the more time this kid gets, he's going to find a way to make an impact. I really do. I'm not big on Herbig. I really am.
Yep. I mean, I saw somebody, I wish I could remember the stat, but his snap to big play ratio is like out of this world. Like he's got sacks and forced fumbles and stuff, and the amount of actual snaps he's taken, it's like ridiculous. So yeah, I wasn't too crazy about the draft pick at the time. I thought he was too small. He's proved me wrong. He's been fantastic. Special teams. Presley Harvin is something you can fix for the playoffs. I don't want to hear it. I know he's the holder. I don't give a rat's ass. You need to fix it. Especially field position is important to this team, and he's screwing them on field position. Like on a weekly basis.
It's bad.
It's time. Don't go into a playoff game with Presley Harvin as your punt, please. I know they're going to. But.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know. You never know. Tom might be like, nope, we're in the playoffs now. We can't afford these. This is stuff that you shouldn't have to worry about. But it's constant with this kid. Constant. Like, I agree. I would go right now and go snag somebody and let them have a go at it and see, where the chips lay. Right? Because there's just no way.
I guess they're worried about the holding thing. That's got to be it, right? It's the only logical thing.
Yeah, but you got a whole fucking week to work on that.
I know.
You got a whole week to work on that.
It's and there's guys out there that can hold. I mean,
right.
I don't know. It's so frustrating. Calvin Austin almost broke one, which would have been the miracle of all miracles. He actually returned pretty well yesterday.
He did.
If that's a dry track, he might take it to the house.
Right.
You'd like to see more out of that kid in the offense and in the return game, man.
The thing that's frustrating about Calvin Austin is you see it. Like you can see it's there, man. Like, but it's almost kind of like with your boy that was our third string running back, but we cut him.
Oh yeah. Ant Mac.
Yeah.
McFarland.
Like you can see it, but like it just doesn't happen. But you could tell yesterday he was very close to breaking.
Yeah, that one he really was close. He turned the corner. I thought he was gone.
Yeah,
there was a Raven in the back that I didn't know was there. I hate saying this name. Igwe made a great play, sprawling out of bounds to get that kick. That was heads up. I mean, Jesus, I would never would have thought of that in the moment.
I gotta admit, I thought that was full of shit. I thought
he fucked up.
Yeah, I thought he fucked up, and it ended up being a good thing that happened because I was just like, come on, who the hell knows
do that? I know. I saw that in another game. I can't remember what game. I bet you it was a Patriots game because Bill Belichick's like a wizard with that stuff. But good for him. Heads up play. I know you could probably bet you a bottom dollar Anthony McFarland wouldn't have thought of that. For sure.
Dude, I would know. Nobody would have thought of that.
No, there's a few. Yeah, you can probably count the players on one hand that would have realized that that's the play to make on that.
I thought he slipped and fell down and tried to grab the ball. Like I was just like,
it did look like that at one point.
What is this guy fucking doing? Like that's what I was thinking. And then all of a sudden they said it was a penalty on the Ravens. I was like, what? And I was like, oh shit, that's right. And I was like, so. Yeah, I mean, good on him. Again, not quite 100% sure I believe it, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, you would hope that if that was the wrong play to make, somebody wouldn't be that dumb as to stretch their legs out of bounds and pick up the ball. You would hope.
Yeah.
But you never know. The Steelers have done weirder shit.
I was going to say, with Steelers, all bets are off.
All right, so to put a bow on this, I guess, man, we got to give Mike Tomlin a shit ton of credit, man. This team was literally as low as you could be. After those 2 losses to the Patriots and Cardinals, this team was and this is what I talk about with Mike Tomlin, as much as he drives me crazy, and he does, he can hold a locker room together. He can hold a team together, and he can will a team to the finish line. That's what he did again. I mean, I'd say, is it 32 teams? I say there isn't 5 coaches in the league that could have pulled that off. And there isn't any coaches that could have coached that bad to lose to those 2 teams and then coach that good to get them back on track and in the playoffs. It's just, this is the roller coaster of Mike Tomlin.
Yes.
And you just got to live with it, right?
The dynamic is incredible. Like the lows, like the mountains and the valleys, man. Like you go real low, but it's just one of those things where he can help will a team to climb out of it. I don't know how just think about last year. Think about last year when they were 2-6, 2-7.
Yeah, that's another good example.
And you're just like,
they could have easily packed it in.
How do they pull out of this? And they do it. They do it every year.
And I shit on Mike Tomlin a lot, but it's always in the back of my mind that he's going to get them. And it might be a curse. We might be 10-7 for the rest of his career, 9-8. But you got to give him credit for what he did. You have to. I mean, just think about the season, Dave. They start out. They get blown out by the 49ers, and we're all like, the sky's falling. This team sucks. Then they get to, 7-3, and we're like, shit, they got the Cardinals and Patriots coming. We're going to be 9-3. We're going to be this good. Then they lose those games.
It was 9-4 we thought they were going to be.
Yep, that's right, 7-4. Then they lose, 3 games in a row. They lose to the Colts, who were terrible. And we're like, it's over. It's over.
Done.
And then they finish up winning. What a wild season. What a wild coach, what a wild team. This is
they make the move to Mason Rudolph, and here we are. And they take off. And you're just standing here like, what? Like, did this really just happen with Mason Rudolph? What the fuck is going on? 34 points. You're just stunned. And here we are. They roar right back. Tomlin said, this is where you got to hang your nuts out. That's what he told them. and apparently that resonated with this team and whatever else he said to them behind closed doors. And it worked. Look, I really think, you hate to say this. I really think they don't like Mitch Trubisky. I don't think the players like him.
That's
players
part of
like
the Tomlin thing.
Shouldn't
he know that? Shouldn't he know that and go to Mason? Because if he goes to Mason Rudolph in that Cardinals game, which game can he get hurt? The Cardinals, right?
Cardinals game.
Yep. They might be 12 and whatever and fighting out for the number 1 seed instead of squeaking into the playoffs.
Well, so here's the thing. It's called math. 10 million? 1 million.
I guess
who do you think's going to play? Look, I'm just telling you, they're paying this guy $10 million or $8, whatever it is, to be originally it was to be the guy. And then it became, now you're the backup Kenny. So who do you think they're going to go with? Because he already wrote off Mason, really. Yeah,
I think it's more than money. I don't think, like everybody else, I don't think, and Mike Tomlin in his wildest dreams thought Mason Rudolph was going to play as well. He might have gotten a little lucky there.
And Tomlin's defense, Mason wasn't lighting the world on fire in 2019 on, right? So, I mean, nobody knew that Mason was going to do this. Nobody fucking knew that this Mason Rudolph was going to come and do what he's doing right now. Nobody.
And here's the thing. We kept hearing from a lot of the guys that we talked to that are there that Mason Rudolph was playing the best out of the 3 of them in preseason. Both years we heard it.
That's true.
We heard it from Nick Farabaugh. We heard it from Tony Serino and a couple other guys that, hey, you know what? Mason Rudolph's really playing well in the preseason. Mike Tomlin loved Mitch Trubisky right up until where he couldn't love him anymore. And you were the one that brought it up. He hates turnovers, and it just doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense why he kept going to Mitch, because Mitch is a turnover freaking machine, and it was so clear.
I honestly think it's the money. The money combined with he didn't think nobody thought they were going to get this kind of Mason.
Yeah,
it's those two things. He thought Mason is what Mason's been. Think about it.
This is what happens to me when I think about Mike Tomlin all the time. I start thinking he's the greatest coach in the world. I want to give him all the credit. Then I think, he's just average and he just gets lucky sometimes.
So Steelers Freak raises he says if Tomlin breaks the 6-year no playoff win drought, he will get a lot of heat off of him.
Oh yeah,
you think he will?
Absolutely. I mean, he's already got a lot of heat off. To get this team in the playoffs, there's no way. We would all talking about him maybe be traded, maybe moving up. There's no way. He's 1,000% back next year, unless he decides he doesn't want to coach anymore. Other than that, he's going to get an extension, and he's going to coach for the Steelers. All the heat's off. All the national media is already saying, see, you spoiled Steeler fans. We told you Mike Tomlin's a great coach, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If he wins this playoff game, yeah, you won't be able to say a bad word about him in public
no.
for another 3 years.
Yeah.
You know? And hey, I don't know, maybe with good reason too. Like I said, I'm so conflicted by Mike Tomlin. I mean, you can make a good argument that he just stepped in shit that Mason Rudolph's playing so well. Because this thing, if Mason Rudolph played like he did in 2019, this thing would have gone off the tracks.
Oh, yeah, it's over. Yeah.
And it would have been bad.
It's over. Yeah, absolutely.
So who knows, dude? Who knows? I'm so conflicted by Mike Tomlin.
But for me personally, instead of just dwelling on, them doing what they're doing, I just embraced it because I knew that Tomlin was not going to tank. I knew that, they were going to go all out because Tomlin they don't believe that kind of shit. They never have. They never will. No. So it was just like, you know what? Why even dwell on what we think they should do? Just embrace this and have fun with it. And, and I'm actually glad that I did because it made today so much more enjoyable that they made they're making the playoffs. And I didn't even realize we've never done a podcast on playoff Steelers football. We've never gotten to do a podcast and talk about the Steelers being in the playoffs. And now we get to do it this week. And it's so awesome. So it's just like, man, what was I thinking? We should have been like, hey, no, we want you to make playoffs so we can have, actually talk about this stuff. Because we got plenty of time to talk draft and talk what might have been or what they should do. We got plenty of time to talk about that. But to actually, to get into January and we still have Steelers football, man, I couldn't ask for anything else. You know what I'm saying? So no matter who they're going to face or whatever, and I know we're going to get into this, further down the week, but I mean, I don't
a little bit now.
I don't care if they're facing Kansas City or Buffalo or whatever. It is what it is. But I also, in the same breath, will say this: these teams are not juggernauts anymore. So it's not or at least this season they haven't been. There's kink in their armor. There really is, and so I'm not. Is scared. I'm just not. Now, we don't know which Steelers is going to show up. We don't know if the Mason Rudolph 34 to 37 points is going to show up, or if it's going to be the Rudolph that stays in the pocket longer than he should and gets killed and fumbles the ball 3 fucking times and we get killed. I don't know. I don't know. Or is Rudolph going to have a rough first quarter and they bring Kenny in? Something crazy like that. I don't know. But you know what? Screw it. Whatever.
The good news is neither one of those teams really has a dominant edge rusher, Kansas City or Buffalo. So that kind of negates these two tackles struggling so much. So I'm kind of that makes me feel a little better about this playoff games. Neither one of them has Kansas City doesn't really have a burner. Buffalo's got some speed on their offense. They've got a couple guys.
I mean, naturally got Diggs and they got that Gabriel. I think is
Gabriel's
his name.
Fast and
and
Dalvin Cook's brother has really been balling out for Buffalo as a running back. So, and their quarterback's all world. If he puts it together for a game, he can really make you.
Don't they have Leonard Fournette too?
I don't know, but I haven't heard that name all season. I don't think.
For some reason, I feel like Buffalo signed him to their practice squad or something. I'm not 100% on that, but because I remember hearing it was like, oh man, geez, now they get him too. It's kind of like when Dalvin Cook signed with the Ravens. Like, Jesus, these guys are getting decent running backs at a position that they already got weapons at already. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just glad that we're getting to talk about this, and the Steelers are so Jekyll and Hyde. You just don't know which team's going to show up.
Yeah, I think I prefer Buffalo. I don't know about you, but their defense is shot. They have a lot of injuries on defense. So
between them and Kansas City, it's probably see, but that's the thing. Like, you think about where they go to, right? Would you rather them be in Kansas City, Arrowhead, or would you rather them be up there with Bills Mafia?
I think Buffalo, man. And Buffalo reminds me of the Steelers so much. They remind me of the Killer Bee Steelers. Like, all the potential in the world, great quarterback, great skill players, and always find a way to come up short. Always find a way to come up short.
Steelers Freak did confirm for me that he is with the Bills. Leonard Fournette is with the Bills.
Yeah. I don't want to hear that name in the playoffs ever again.
Yeah.
I still have bad flashbacks to that Jacksonville game. Patrick Mahomes scares me. I don't want anything to do with him. I mean, Josh Allen's great too, though. So you're right.
But
either way,
he
turns the ball over. He turns the ball over. So and Patrick Mahomes doesn't. So yeah, I might regret saying this, but I prefer Buffalo over Kansas City.
Well, if we do face Buffalo and we get Minkah back, don't put him on the line on 3rd and 10.
They're gonna.
Please don't do that anymore.
They're gonna do.
But yeah. I'm okay with either. I don't. Yeah, I don't. These teams are not juggernauts like they've been, but I think in Arrowhead it'd be tougher.
Yeah, that's a tough stadium. It's not easy in Buffalo either. There is a Monday night football playoff game. It would be great if the Steelers didn't have to play the Monday night, and maybe that gives TJ Watt a couple extra days to get ready. Maybe there's no way in hell he's going to play, but
at the NFL they're going to have the Steelers playing 1:00 Saturday.
Well,
first game that way nobody gets time to heal or anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, I'm convinced, man. They hate the Steelers.
If they could get that Monday night game, that would be so key because they played Saturday. So that gave them a lot just to rest up everybody else. Like I'm sure Landon Roberts could use an extra day or two.
Right.
And a couple of the other guys could,
No, I agree.
Been playing her all
It'd be
year.
Nice. I never even thought about that. I forgot there's a Monday night game.
Yeah, I just saw the schedule. That's why. That would be fantastic. We'll see. It's exciting, man.
They'll announce probably the schedule tomorrow.
Yeah, as soon as the Bills game's over, they'll probably announce. Well, maybe they might wait till Monday morning to let us know. Yeah, I predicted on Twitter that they're going to get the Saturday night game. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Oh, Saturday night. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to. They have a 4:00 and an 8:00 Saturday games. They'll probably get the 8:00 Saturday. The way things have been going. We'll see. It's exciting, man. First playoffs for us on the pod, and let's hopefully this playoff game ends a little better than the last couple ones. It's a good thing we weren't podding when they played that Cleveland game because we would have been.
Oh, good Lord. We would have thought the world was ending. Yeah. I think that I just don't want to see him get blown out. Just make it a game. Like don't get blown out because that was the last game that we remember them being the playoffs getting blown out by the Chiefs, right? That was Ben's last season. No. I'm talking about Ben's last season where we won the game.
Wasn't the Browns game? Was his last season? Or am I remembering it wrong? It was this Chiefs game? Yeah.
No. His last it was we beat the Ravens at Acrisure. He had his send off walking around waving to everybody, and then we made the playoffs because the Raiders and Chargers had a game.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And they kicked it to win. I can't remember if it was the Raiders or the Chargers.
If it was a tie, they would have both gone in. Then the Raiders
got in, went to Kansas City, and we actually were doing well. In the first quarter, we were keeping them in check. And then didn't
they get a strip sack on
I want to say
Mahomes and scored a defensive touchdown, I think.
Our defense looked amazing in the first quarter. Yeah. And that was when Kansas City was like, okay, we're going to start running the ball now. And we didn't know what to do. Yeah. And that was when we got killed. But yeah, that's the last game I remember in the playoffs. And I just give a good game. Don't get embarrassed. That's all I ask. Don't get embarrassed.
There's no dominant team in the AFC. You could call the Ravens probably the dominant team, but we played the Ravens well. So they don't scare the Steelers as much as they scare other teams. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself. The cynic in me says they're going to get beat, but the AFC is wide open.
It is.
The AFC is wide
open. Look at all the records of everybody in the playoffs. It's all like 11-5, 10, and it's all. They're not that far. Only the Ravens are like really ahead of the pack by a couple games. So, and with Ravens, we always play them tough. So it's just one of the things. It's going to
sound crazy, but it all comes down to Mason Rudolph, man.
It does.
And how well he plays. That's going to.
But I mean, look, I'm looking at what these guys are saying in the comments. Just like Casey's only averaging 22 points a game. He's right. Like they're not killing it like they used to. And then Vaughn here says he feels that, they can legit compete even with the injuries. I don't think these guys are wrong. I honestly think that there's a ton of injuries to the Dolphins and the Bills, and the Chiefs are not. Even Kelce didn't even play today. Yeah. And the last time I looked, they were barely beating the Chargers 10-6 day.
Yeah, that game they were locked into the 3 seed, so I don't think they started a lot of guys. I know Mahomes didn't play.
Okay. I didn't know.
But still, they haven't been playing well. They haven't been playing well this year. They're not the same Chiefs that we're used to, for sure.
I think they go to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs? Probably not. They're probably going to lose.
It's just that.
But do I think it'll be close? Yeah, I think it'll be close. Closer. I'll put it that way.
If they can run the ball like they've been running the last 3 weeks, they can beat anybody. They really can.
Do you want to know what the score is right now in the Chiefs-Chargers game?
What is it?
13-12.
I don't think there's a starter on either team.
With honestly. 49 seconds left, and the Chargers have the ball. This is interesting.
The Eagles were getting thumped the last time I looked too, right? They were getting smashed.
They lost 27-10. What the hell's going on with the Eagles?
They took Hurts out at the half because they were just like, we're losing. Let's just save him for the playoffs. He threw a pick and they took him out. My team's.
Well, I meant in general, they've been dog shit for a while now. Like, I don't know what's going on. But anyways, but no, point being, I think if they do lose, it's not going to be as bad. It's not going to be where we're losing by like 3 or 4 touchdowns and the game's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they could probably compete.
I said like a month ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, if they squeak into the playoffs, it was the worst case scenario. I think enough has happened between when I said that and now that I don't really feel that way anymore. I think they realize, I hope they realize that the quarterback play hasn't been good enough and they need to do something with it. I hope they realize they need a coordinator outside the organization. They're not going to get as good a draft pick as I was hoping for, but they're going to get playoff experience for some of these young guys, which is important. So I've kind of come around on this. Them making the playoffs is a good thing. If it's like we talked about last week, if it's Sullivan as OC and Kenny Pickett's a starter on week 1, I'm going to be out of my mind. But short of that,
I'm hoping that. Really, I'm just hoping that Khan steps in, and collectively, they're like, look, we got to get a legit offensive coordinator. We got to get legit offensive linemen at center and another tackle, at least, Dave.
Yeah.
And see if that is enough. If the draft falls right and there's another QB there with a high grade, maybe take a shot. Maybe. I don't know. Because here, in one breath, I'm saying they got to get center. They got to get a tackle.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
But in the other breath, I'm like, man, if one of those guys, though, a QB falls, do you really want to pass that up? So it'll have to – the draft's going to dictate. But we'll get to that later. We don't even really need to get into that right now.
It's a little interesting, though, right? Do they want to fill holes?
Right.
And try to go and win with what they have, or do they want to go and get a quarterback? That's the decision they have to make.
And that's why this game is so important, like you were saying. First, these guys are getting now playoff experience. But 2, they get to see Mason Rudolph in playoff atmosphere. And if he fucking balls out, like, I don't know what
to admit, man, he's got the arm. Now he's got it between the ears to he's just got to speed up his process a little bit. I like the way he holds the ball unless the receivers run their routes, but there's that fine line where you're holding the ball a little too long and you're taking sacks and fumbling, and we'll see. I don't know. And there's no guarantee he's back next year anyway, because like we said, he's a free agent.
I know. And that's the terrible situation with this, is the fact that
they could technically franchise tag him, but that's going to cost you like $30 million.
Yeah,
I don't think you want to pay Mason Rudolph $30 million.
No,
or $25 million or whatever the franchise tag is for that.
I don't know. Could he? I don't know, man. They were the only team that gave him a shot. That's the thing. No other team gave him any shot whatsoever, but the Steelers. And so, could there be some sense of loyalty there? Maybe. No, I meant by him. Maybe. I'm saying maybe, depending on the offers. Maybe.
Yeah.
If they go, no, we're legit giving you a shot as the starting quarterback on top of we'll match whatever they're off, he might do it.
How many playoff games does he have to win to get the franchise tag?
I don't think they'd ever. I think that motherfucker could go to the Super Bowl. They wouldn't franchise tag.
If he gets to the Super Bowl, they might. They might.
That
means he's playing really well, man.
Oh,
if he gets the AFC Championship, they might franchise tag. if they can't get him to sign a long-term deal.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I hope that happens. I hope we get that. I hope we go all the way.
Me too. Me too.
But I mean, just what a hell of a story. Could you imagine? That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, listen, after this season and the last season, the last 3-4, nothing would surprise me. But the last 10 seasons, going back to the Killer Bees and all the crazy shit that happened with that right up until now, nothing surprises me with this team anymore. He could go ball out and win 3 playoff games. Who knows? Or he could fall on his face and do shitty too. Any range of possibilities, Dave, with this team. Any range of possibilities could happen.
Mountains and valleys, man.
Yeah.
Peaks
we're on the upswing. How long is it going to last before?
Oh, yeah. How far are we going to climb this, baby, before we come crashing down? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, this is super exciting, man. I'm all for playoff football now. I'm really psyched. I can't wait to see who they're playing and what time and when.
Yeah, I'm pretty amped.
That way, next podcast, we can focus in on their opponent and what's going on.
Yep.
I'm hoping there won't be any drama between now and then. And I hope Tomlin doesn't come out tomorrow and say, Kenny Pickett's our starter.
Oh, man.
God bless.
I just
Twitter would burn. Twitter would burn.
Oh,
would melt.
I can't even imagine. And
I'd be the one lighting the match because I don't want to see Kenny Pickett back in there.
No.
He's coming back next year. We got to live with that. But
yeah, but we'll worry about next year. Right now, you need to worry about what's working, and what working is Mason Rudolph. You can't argue that.
All right, Dave, that's all I got. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's it.
I think we covered it pretty good. You can follow me on Twitter at SteelersSank16. Email the show at daver@SteelersSanctuary.com. Subscribe to the podcast, guys, or follow us here on YouTube Live. Like we said last week, we're going to be doing this every week now. Our views on YouTube are going up, so we're going to keep this thing going. Dave, give me your stuff, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, you can find me on X at DMC3SSP. You can find me on TikTok at Steelers Sanctuary Podcast or at SteelSankPod. Don't forget, guys, I got the micro site with the sports books at signupexpert.com/nothingness.
All right. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast.